Now I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. I've been doing guides on specific decks and gameplay tutorials for a few years now. A lot of people have had success with the work that JJ and myself have been putting out. Today I want to address a different aspect of the game and something that I've still been getting a lot of questions about, and that is how to really do it, how to climb to the legend ranks, how to climb the ladder, how to climb the legend ranks. And this video is not going to focus on a specific deck that I recommend that you should be playing, and a specific way that you should be playing it, what cards to use, and studying the strongest interactions and studying all the lists and the builds that are out there in the meta. These are going to be 5 tips today on how to set yourself up for success in Hearthstone, and what I mean by that will become clear as we get into those points. So I'm going to give you 5 tips that are important to know, that aren't necessarily the main information that you typically get whenever you look at guides. You get deck recommendations, or you get tutorials on how the card economy works. This one is going to be what to do, steps to take around the game, and how to set yourself up for success. So I'm going to get into those, and stay tuned for all of them. The last one going to be a super secret pro tip that concerns the gameplay a little bit, that I have come up with and haven't heard from a lot of people, but it's a very important one. First, number 1, and one of the most important ones: your playing environment has to be set up correctly. It has to be set up for you to play your best Hearthstone. And what I mean by that is you want to play in a calm place. You want to be able to focus on the game that you're playing. I recommend you play at home, get comfortable, and have no distractions. You really don't want to be playing seriously, trying to climb to legend on your phone in the bus that's driving over bumps. The kid next to you is throwing up. You got the homeless guy right behind you with the broken bottle. Don't know what he's up to. No, you can't play like that. You can't focus properly on the game you're trying to play. Do it at home, get comfortable, put on headphones, put on some music maybe. For me, I definitely prefer playing on a PC with a mouse. If you're a mobile player used to that, it's fine. To me, I want to have a calm atmosphere. I want to have the mouse, I want to have the screen, and I want to be able to dedicate my entire focus with no distractions to the game. So set up your playing environment, number 1, and very, very important. Number 2 pertains to deck selection. I'm not going to be too specific about what you want to do. The key thing to note here is that win rate isn't everything. Now, win rate is something people look at when they're trying to find a new deck. How's the win rate looking, right? It's not everything. What really matters is win rate over game time. And what I mean by that is going to become obvious when we go to HS Replay for a second. I'm going to compare 2 very strong decks that are listed here. I want to look at this Pure Paladin right here, which has a 65.8% win rate, and the Face Hunter right below it with the 65.7% win rate. But if you look at over here, the game times for the Paladin, 7.9 minutes, for the Hunter there, 5.8 minutes. That's a big difference, and the difference in win rate, not that big. So the Hunter in this situation would be the more optimal deck for you to climb. You'll be able to get more wins in, and with any positive win rate, essentially, you're going to be able to hit the legend rank eventually. Now, the win rate between these two isn't much different, but you're going to be playing a lot more games per hour with the Hunter on average, so it is the better deck to get more wins over the same period of time than you would with the Paladin. So keep that in mind. Win rate isn't everything. There might be a 70% win rate Highlander Shaman that takes 15 minutes to play, goes to fatigue every time. You just prefer the aggro deck that wins 60% of the games, but gets done in 5 minutes. One that I could definitely recommend is the new aggro Demon Hunter. I'm going to link that in the description. Maybe put an info box there so you can check that out, that I created last week. It's a bit of a novelty that came out with the new expansion, but it works flawlessly. It's one of the fastest and most successful decks on the ladder right now, so I urge you to check that out if you're still looking for a deck. But that's my number 2 tip. Win rate isn't everything. Factor in your game time. Number 3. The most important one, in my opinion, for me personally, manage your mental state. Now, that includes a couple things. Don't play when you're tired at 3 a.m. Don't go into crunch time like you're sitting at Diamond 3 and you want to climb at 3 a.m. Don't do it. Don't play when you're sick or when you're otherwise distracted, when you're not really feeling yourself, when you're distracted, or when you can't focus properly. Don't play when you're stressed out, for example. Take breaks in between. If you've just had a terrible day at work, you got fired, your car broke down, your house burned, whatever, don't sit down and play Hearthstone. And try to seriously climb the ranks and try to hit that new rank floor that you've never achieved before, because it's not going to happen. Your mind's going to be on other stuff. You want to be relaxed. Optimally, I recommend playing on a day or at a time of day where you don't have anything else to do that day. So your mind is kind of switched off from the hassle of everyday life, and you can focus on the game properly. Manage your mental state, one of the absolute most important things. Tip number 4, and this is a kind of like a secret spice that I put in this one, and it's a kind of a guideline, which is take 10 seconds before you make your first play every turn, and take 10 seconds before you end your turn. This is simply to make sure to kind of force yourself to think just for even a minute, to avoid those mistakes that happen by just going too fast, because they happen to everyone. You think you've got it figured out, and later you notice slight inaccuracy, slight problem with order. Take 10 seconds before you start the turn, 10 seconds before you end the turn, and just think and make doubly and triply sure. In chess, they say you're supposed to sit on your hands when it's your move, and you've got to think for at least 10 seconds before you do it. And number 5, and this is my own personal favorite, maybe. This is my personal super tip. It pertains to gameplay, and both of those are potentially controversial tips that I'm about to give out. But some people might not agree with this, but in my opinion, these are important things you have to keep in mind. The first one is use the squelch feature. Squelch your opponent. Make it a habit to squelch your opponent at the start of your game. Why would I do that? The reason that we do that is it ties into the third point I made, which is managing your mental state. The squelch feature is when you're trying to seriously grind and climb the ladder, it can only possibly be a distraction. You don't want your opponent to emote at you in a critical moment, or even worse, after you've just lost or when you're losing. Because there's people in Hearthstone, they'll push an emote when they're just killing you after you just press the concede button. They'll like push an emote, and you're ready to punch a wall. Like you're tilting, and that's something you want to avoid. With the third point there, managing your mental state. You do that by squelching your opponent, not exposing yourself to be taunted and being thrown off your game. Very, very important. I'm speaking here with a bunch of experience, years of playing poker and a career of playing chess. Absolutely important. Your mental state has to be focused. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, it doesn't happen to me. I don't get distracted. I don't go on tilt. You're going to get distracted when that happens. You're going to go on tilt when it happens. And if it's only you're speeding through the next mulligan, next game, you're going too fast because you're a little bit frustrated. It's going to happen. No one's immune to that. Protect yourself from being thrown off your game, from being taunted by people with bad manners in the game by squelching your opponent at the start of the game. And number 2, that also ties in that with that. A lot of people are going to disagree with this one as well. Don't be afraid to switch decks in between climbing. A lot of people say this is heresy. You have to stick to the same deck for your entire climb because you're used to it, you're best at it. I don't find that to be true, and that's a lot of self-experimentation going with it. Over the past 4 or 5 seasons, ever since Skull came out, every single month I reached Legend with a different deck than I used to get to Diamond 10. And I did that with a different deck than I went from Diamond 10 to like Diamond 3 or something. So I switch decks around, and it's not a problem at all. If you are having a dry spell, you're not getting stuff, you're getting frustrated with a deck, again, point number 3, manage your mental state. Don't go on tilt, don't get frustrated. If you feel like nothing's working, take a break, but don't be afraid to switch your deck and try something else. Now, I'm not saying go net deck something that you've never played before, throw it out there, Diamond 2, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Not a good idea. But definitely, if you have several decks that you are able to play, don't be afraid to switch them out, even during crucial climbs. It's all about the win streaks and the losing streaks, after all. So if you're able to, to catch a wave with one deck and the other one's having a dry spell, don't be afraid. Switch your decks. So that's my top 5 tips on how to climb, how to reach Legend in Hearthstone. Not necessarily gameplay related, but everything around it. How to set yourself up for success. I'm going to recap once again. So number 1. Set up your playing environment. Play in a calm environment, preferably from home, and avoiding distractions. Number 2, for your deck selection, win rate isn't everything. Consider game time as well and how many games you can effectively play. Number 3 is manage your mental state. Don't play when you're tired, sick, distraught, or tilted, or whatever. Know when to take breaks and when to take it easy. You're only hurting yourself if you play frustrated. Number 4, take 10 seconds before your turn and 10 seconds before you end your turn. overthink everything twice or 3 times or 4 times. It's better than overthinking it 1 time's too little. And number 5, squelch your opponent right from the start of the game, and don't be afraid to switch decks. When you're trying to climb to Hearthstone Legend, it's not necessarily a fully fun or social experience. You're trying to emote with your friends. No, you're trying to play somewhat serious Hearthstone at this point, and that is the case in the games that I've drawn as a comparison. Chess or poker, yeah, they're fun to play in general, but at the end of the day, if you're playing competitively, you're playing for something, you want to focus on it, and you're trying to minimize the shenanigans kind of that's going up around it with the distractions that it could provide for you. Same in Hearthstone. So adhere to these 5 tips, and they are going to help you out. And you're going to have to figure out, how you respond, how your mental state responds to certain inputs, to certain streaks, how well you can handle 2-3 game losing streaks, or feeling like your deck is just garbage, because that is going to happen, right? There's going to be highs and lows in this journey, because it's going to take a long time, especially if you're doing it for the first time. But if you follow these 5 tips, I believe they can really help you. So let me know what you think about it. If you agree or maybe disagree with something, I would be happy to discuss that. And for more advice, I'm going to once again link some decks that we've made. JJ made a phenomenal Soul Demon Hunter recently. I made the Aggro Demon Hunter. Both of them are fantastic ladder decks. I'm going to link those in the info boxes. And be sure to check those out if you need some inspiration for what to play. We also have a Discord server. We're going to link that in the description of this video. So if you would like to, feel free to join that as well. Other than that, thank you for watching. Leave me a like and some feedback, and I'm going to see you in the next one. That's it.